Warren Beatty has been a Hollywood star for 30 years. In that time, he's also reputed to have been the lover of so many beautiful women that Woody Allen once said, "If ever I'm reincarnated, I want to come back as Warren Beatty's fingertips." Well, tonight, and somewhat unusually for his normally a reticent fellow, Beatty talks about his stardom, his reputation, deserved or otherwise, his politics, and about Dick Tracy, the new $30 million movie that's taken him right back to the top.
Calling Dick Tracy, calling Dick Tracy.
Come in, Pat. This is Tracy.
We got 5 dead men at the 7th Street garage and nobody knows who they are. You better get over here right away.
I'm on my way. I'll be back. I want to know how it comes out.
Boys.
Tracy, we're glad to see you. Tracy, whoever they are, they're all dead. 5 dead men, Tracy, and we don't even know who they are. Whoever did it took their identification, but they didn't take a dime.
Maybe 12 years ago, somebody suggested that I play Dick Tracy, and I just didn't think it, I didn't quite see it. Because I thought I didn't look like Dick Tracy, and then I began to realize that nobody looked like Dick Tracy, and so then I thought, well, I might as well play it as the next guy. So I got interested in acting the part.
Is it something you were brought up on, Dick Tracy?
Dick Tracy is the great old American comic strip. You know, it was the first comic strip that wasn't funny. Dick Tracy was the first one that had violence and bad guys and good guys, and it wasn't just looking for laughs. In a curious way, though, it's about crime and violence. There's a kind of innocence about the whole thing, isn't there? It captures an earlier, more innocent America? Well, yeah. There were 2 little cartoon pictures that I saw the moment I decided to do it. One was Dick Tracy just hit a guy and he knocked his hat off, and the caption said, "Take that, you cockroach." And the other one had Tess Trueheart standing with her hands on her hips saying, "Dick Tracy, are you asking me to marry you?" And when I looked at those 2 things, I thought, I got to make a movie of this. This could be fun. And it actually was fun. It was more fun than I ever had making a movie.
Hey, what are you trying to do? You're gonna get hurt, kid. Be careful. You're gonna get hurt.
What'd you get?
Didn't say me no chicken.
See the stuff. That's all.
Yeah.
Hey, tough guy. You want to try that on somebody your own size? Okay, tough guy. Now do you want to give the kid a piece of chicken?
We got a place for people who beat up kids.
This cockroach your old man?
Go suck an egg.
Well, it's certainly fun to see. But, you know, it was inevitably going to be compared with Batman, wasn't it? Because Batman came out last year.
Well, I guess so, because Batman is also a big comic strip character, but since Superman is too, I would say that Tracy probably has more in the same spirit of Superman than Batman. Batman's a kind of a darker spirit, but Tracy kind of touches me, you know, straightforward, kind of honest. Not kind of honest, thoroughly honest.
You're under arrest.
That's the way you play him, isn't it? I thought it was a very unselfish performance you gave there, because in a sense you're almost a straight man and the other people are bouncing a lot of the humor off you.
Oh, yeah. Well, Tracy in the strip was like a block of wood, and all these interesting characters ran around him all the time in a little garden of Hieronymus Bosch, but it was Tracy that kind of held things, moved them forward.
I want them dead, both of them. I want this no-face dead, and I want Tracy dead. What's the matter? You bums forgot how to kill people? Doesn't your work mean anything to you anymore? Have you no sense of pride in what you do? No sense of duty? No sense of destiny? I'm looking for generals. What do I got? Foot
A
soldiers.
super performance, I thought, by Al Pacino.
Yeah.
Now, how did you persuade him to play that role?
Well, Pacino, I saw in a restaurant one day at lunch, and I had to cast this part. He knows actors very well, and I went over and talked to him about, asked him for some thoughts on the part, and he wound up saying he'd like to do it, so I got lucky.
I don't believe you got lucky, because you pulled the same trick with Jack Nicholson on Reds.
You're right. You've been doing your research.
I've been doing my research.
But you know, each time,
well,
both time I was very serious. About Jack, on Reds, I called Jack and I said, you got to help me. And he said, what? And I said, you've got to tell me an actor that I can get that everyone will completely believe that he takes Diane Keaton away from me in the picture. And he said, you have only one choice.
And modesty is always going to hold Jack back, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Aren't you gonna frisk me?
One of the revelations of the film was Madonna. Why did you want Madonna?
Madonna is, I think, the biggest bundle of talent that we've got going right now. She sings, she moves, she dances, she's a great comedian, she's beautiful, she has irony, she has intelligence, she's totally serious about what she does, and I just find the woman irresistible. I think she's going to be a giant movie star.
But in a sense, that too I would have thought was risky to take her on and give her that role, because her track record after Desperately Seeking Susan and before Dick Tracy was not really very good. I mean, how did you get that performance out of her?
Oh, Madonna's a wonderful actress. Track records don't mean anything really in the movies, do they? I mean, you make a good movie, people are going to go see it. You make a bad movie, they won't, no matter who you are or what your track record is. Madonna really has talent.
Your spirit to soar. That's what's soothing about excess. Never settle for
I was trying to give you credit for drawing a great performance out of it.
Well, I'd love to take it, but no.
You have said, and you know, I think I can understand what you mean, that when you first met her, because you didn't know her before the film, when you first met her, you simply couldn't sit still. You couldn't even sit down.
I couldn't sit down because the woman came into the room and sat down and began to talk, and I find myself pacing around because she made me nervous. And she, of course, remained seated. And
that was smart, wasn't it?
She's very smart.
What was it made you nervous?
Well, she has an impatience about her that kind of gets me moving, and I like it. She's going at about 78 while you and I are going around 33. Yeah.
No grief for lips?
I'm wearing black underwear.
You know it's legal for me to take you down to the station and sweat it out of you under the lights.
I sweat a lot better in the dark. I know how you feel. You don't know if you want to hit me or kiss me. I get a lot of that.
In the last 10 years, you made Reds, which is a very, very good film.
Yeah.
And you made Ishtar, which for all kinds of reasons, and I know you have feelings about this, was a flop.
Yeah. First of all, I think Ishtar is a funny little movie made by a brilliantly eccentric woman named Elaine May, who wrote and directed it, with an incredibly funny person named Dustin Hoffman in it, and an incredibly beautiful, gifted woman named Isabella Gianni as the leading lady, Charles Grodin, terrifically funny person, and a simple movie that cost far too much.
Did you learn anything from Ishtar?
What I learned is, unless you have someone who's on your side preparing the way for a movie to be released, you better go into the making of paintings or small books or write an essay or something, because this is now a mass marketing matter. And in fact, if you're asking me about David Putnam, who was managing the company that had to release this movie in a week or whatever, who I have never met the man. He never called me. I never saw him. I have never had the slightest contact with him.
That's surprising, because it's very contrary to my experience of David Putnam in other areas.
I have to tell you that, I've still never met the man. I've never had the slightest thing to do with him. I've never received a note, a telephone call, a word about him. Ishtar, I can tell you, was a movie that got some very good reviews when it opened, from the New York Times and the Los Angeles Times and Newsweek and so on. It wasn't, you know, I know you say you didn't like it very much, but I don't know, it was just a little movie. It was like, it became an orphan.
Tonight at the Ad Lib, for the first time, please welcome Rogers and Clark.
You take a long time setting up films anyway, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, Reds took about 5 years or
Well,
so.
I take a long time. I will let some sort of a theme ruminate for a long time.
Was that one from the heart, one that you really felt fervently
Well,
about?
I think that Reds, you know, I was one of those people that felt that that Soviet thing wasn't going to last. So I didn't think, like many Americans did, that Khrushchev was right when he banged his shoe on the table, said, "We will bury you." And so a picture had never been made in the United States about the development of the American left. It hadn't been done. Nobody ever made a capitalist-financed movie with a communist hero. And I love that movie.
4 million people died last year, not from fighting a war. They died from starvation and typhus in a militaristic police state that suppresses freedom and human rights where nothing works.
They died because of a French, British, and American blockade that cut off all food and medical supplies, and because counter-revolutionaries have sabotaged the factories and the railroads and the telephones, and because the people, the poor, ignorant, superstitious, illiterate people, are trying to run things themselves, just as you always said that they should, but they don't know how to run them yet. Did you really think things were going to work right away? Did you really expect social transformation to be anything other than a murderous process? It's a war, E.G., and we got to fight it like we fight a war, with discipline, with terror, with firing squads, or we just give it up.
Artistically, of course, it was a big success, and you were nominated as producer, director, writer, and actor for the second time.
Yeah.
You are the only person that has ever happened to. Even Orson Welles was only nominated in 4 categories once, and you've been nominated in 4 categories twice. Does that give you a good feeling?
Yes.
Recognition of your peers.
Yes.
You've made several movies with very strong, either implicit or explicit political themes. I mean, Shampoo, the Parallax View, Reds, for instance. Is that one way in which you can use that fame that came to you so instantly to do what? To do
You're talking about politically?
Yeah.
Well, I think that you mean to have a political agenda in the movies. I don't know that I have a political agenda in movies. I think your politics show, either by omission or commission, in whatever movies you do. But I would say that I got involved in politics because I was lucky enough to have known President Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy, and I became interested in politics, I think, with them, and I became very active when the war in Vietnam was going on, and I thought we should get out of it, and I got out of movies for about 3 years for political activity. Our politics has changed since then. I think not for the better, and we have to do something about it.
For a campaign dependent mainly on raising small contributions, George McGovern had a friend named Warren Beatty.
People are realizing that to be apolitical is to be really apathetic and in favor of the status quo. So people who hadn't politicized before are realizing that it does make a difference what their opinion is, but that they also have this talent to raise the interest of other people, the funds, the crowds.
When I was younger, I thought I might be interested in running for office. I wouldn't be interested in just reading the demographics in order to win the election. I might be interested in running for office, and as bizarre as this may sound, I don't know that I'd be interested in winning. But I would have a certain amount of interest in expressing what I felt to be true. And that, by the way, becomes closer to what I'm doing anyway, in the movies, in art, or near art, what David Lean called the great near art form of the 20th century. So politics, in a way, has saved my life, because it's kept me in touch with reality. The constant fantasy of making movies, the constant inevitable narcissism of it all is a tremendous trap if you don't lead a political life. So I think I would have to say that my interest in politics is quite selfish. I love it. I enjoy it. I like dealing with people. And I like talking to you. I like all this publicity nonsense. I do believe it's wrong for movies. It's sell, sell, sell.
Well, you know, when you were working for McGovern, and later for Gary Hart, you had the reputation of being an absolutely brilliant manipulator of the media. If you could manipulate the media for them, why can't you manipulate the media to get yourself rather better publicity than you tend to get?
Well, I'm here.
That's what you're doing now.
I'm manipulating the hell out of you.
I knew it. I just knew it.
Yeah, I don't know that I should say, what does manipulate mean?
Get them to do what you want them to
Well,
do.
I think that you get people to do what you want to do by telling them the truth, because people kind of have built-in bullshit detectors. So if you tell them the truth, maybe you can influence things to some sort of mutual good.
It's very unusual to find you doing this kind of publicity tour that you have been doing. You haven't done it, in my memory anyway. What brought you out to do it for Dick Tracy?
I finally decided that if I don't go out and do publicity, it's just invented about me anyway, and it's all a bunch of crap. So I just said to myself, well, I'm being dumb here. I'm totally, quotes are invented about by me. They are invented about me, stories invented about me, things that never happen. In other words, the gigantic amount of technology that we haven't caught up with in how to use it has an appetite that's going to be fed, and it has a high sexual appetite also. So that appetite, the junk is just going to be invented. So I think I had one approach for a lot of years, which is try to be out of it, don't respond to it, don't say anything, and it didn't work. The level of inaccuracy in the media now is so high that the only thing that we can do with each other is to participate more, communicate more with each other, and try to lower the level of inaccuracy. And I think there's a somewhat antisocial element to what comes out of not participating. If you are in a public business, if you're in a public life, and this is what this is, I can't deny that I'm not in public life.
It's something that surprises me is that, I mean, you are quite obviously a serious filmmaker. I mean, you've been seriously involved in politics. And yet, as far as your publicity is concerned, you're as well known for the number and variety of beautiful women you're supposed to have slept with as you are for your work. Now, I can't imagine that pleases you a great deal.
Well, well, let me say that it pleases me to have known the wonderful people that I've known in my life. I, of course, hate publicity that has no dignity to it, and I never respond to it. I've never spoken about people personally. If you ever read a quote about me, about a personal relationship, you can just be assured that it's made up by some half-baked columnist somewhere. I don't do it. I never do it. I will speak about someone professionally, but I don't speak about them personally. That, by the way, that applies to friends of mine who are male, not just female. I believe these friendships are too delicate. I'm too famous. I've been too famous for too many years to take that chance. I learned this about 15 years ago, and I've been famous for 30 years, so, you know.
But why does that...
Did I say 15 years ago? I learned this 25 years ago. I'm sorry.
You've only been famous 5 years when you know this.
Yes.
Why do you suppose that this particular kind of publicity attaches to you rather than to your contemporaries?
My contemporaries?
Yeah.
You mean the other old guys?
Yeah, well,
I
wouldn't have put it so indelicate.
It might be because I have, well, I've been famous longer than any of the rest of them except for a few. And I've never been married, so I think people take liberties in this way with someone who has never been married, probably. And well, you know, I could go into it further, but it's, who knows. By the way, I think this is directed toward everyone. I don't think it's just me. I think there's a
you just get more of it.
Well, I think there's a spirit out there of some sort of vaguely malevolent spirit that probably comes out of deep egalitarian roots that say, let's take their pants off in public and see what happens.
Hola, es el Paco Loco. I'm going bananas, and I feel like my poor little mind is being devoured by piranhas. But I'm going bananas.
Do you detect an element of jealousy in it, that there is this guy, this newspaper columnist, who looks at you and says, look at him, you know, he's good looking, he's rich, he's famous, he's powerful, he's had more beautiful women than I've had hot dinners, let's cut him off at the knees. Do you think there's an element of that in it?
I don't want to get caught saying that, because I think that when you attack the press, you're really attacking the people, and if you attack the people, you're attacking yourself.
Yeah, yes.
I'm ashamed every time I read it, you know.
I was going to ask, you know, whether you can joke about it, or whether you're offended, or whether you feel demeaned by it.
I'm demeaned. I can joke about it. I am offended. Sometimes it is funny. It's much funnier when I read it about you than when I read it about me.
Isn't that strange? Yes, it's the other way around with me.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of it is I assume is patently ridiculous, because if you had knowledge of half the women you're supposed to have had knowledge of, I'd be surprised to find you alive.
I'd be at the Chicago Medical Center or Mayo Clinic or something like that, and I would probably be not even this good an interview. Yeah.
You made 3 films only in the last 10 years, Reds, Ishtar, and now Dick Tracy. Isn't it? Why?
I've been lucky because I made a little money and I don't have to work to eat, but you know, making movies after a while becomes very repetitious, and I kind of sensed this because I was very lucky. I was very young when I became a movie star, you know.
Well, Splendor in the Grass.
Splendor in the Grass.
First film.
And I just make I knew then I'd make very few movies, and in fact, I started making comebacks when I was about 24.
Come on, everything. Get up there.
Clyde, where's the car? It's been a while. Me too. Where's the car? Where did he go?
What the hell are you doing parking a car?
Now, you were 30 when you made that. Warner Brothers didn't really want to make it. How did you have enough muscle to make them get behind that film?
Well, you know, these stories are dramatized because there is a need for publicity in movies. Usually they are apocryphal. They're not, the story, quite frankly, when I made Bonnie and Clyde, there were a number of studios who would have made the picture, and I simply took the best deal, which wasn't a very good deal. That's the real story. Now, the story that worked its way into the press and into the whatever you want to call it, was that I got down on my knees and begged Jack Warner to make the picture. I enjoy that story, but it's not true. It's, that's what happens, you know.
But that's not the story I'd heard. The story I'd heard was that when you were showing it to him, you're going to show it to Jack Warner, somebody said, if he goes to the bathroom, you're in trouble. Is that story true?
No, no, no. Jack Warner went to the bathroom 2 or 3 times during a picture, always. I don't know if I can say this.
Yes, go ahead, say it.
British television. A 2-piss picture was not, it was better than a 3. And so Jack Warner, at the end of this movie, said, well, that was a 3-piss picture. And I said, oh, what have we done here? Went out of the room, and he came back. The room was a wonderful room in his house, Renoirs all around. And he said, how long was that? How long was that movie? And someone said, well, Colonel, that movie was 2 hours and 10 minutes. And he said, that's the longest goddamn 2 hours and 10 minutes I've ever spent. And I thought, well, here we go. Now, we made some titles on Bonnie and Clyde in which we used subliminal, practically, the use of photographs over the titles. And we had a song. It was sung by Rudy Valley, and it was very, very low, and you could barely hear it, and we brought it up louder and louder over the titles. And Jack Warner saw these titles, and he said, I can't see these photographs. What in the hell is happening here? I don't know who those people are, and make those cuts longer. And I said, well, don't you like this kind of subliminal? He said, I don't want subliminal, just make it longer, and I can't hear this singer. What's going on here? He said, we invented sound at Warner Brothers. I said, well, that's the thing. We want to creep in there very slowly and very subtly. He said, don't creep. We invented sound, and I want to hear the goddamn thing. And I said, well, let me see what I can do. And I showed him the titles, and we hadn't changed anything, you know. And he sat, and he looked at them, and we finished. And I said, what did you think? What do you think? And he said, very good, excellent, excellent. And he walked to the door of the screening room, and he turned around, and he said, hey, kid, I want you to know, I know you didn't change a goddamn thing, but if you listen to me, you'd make nothing but flops.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it? Yeah.
He was an entertaining man.
When you look at Hollywood now and compare it with what it was like when you first became a star 30 years ago,
yeah.
Do you like the changes that have happened?
Well, here's what I think basically has happened in Hollywood over this eternity that I've been a movie star. When it started out, the old moguls were in charge of the studios, and they ran everything, and that wasn't very healthy. But they had a certain amount of guts, and they would take some chances, and when they got hurt, they took their licking, and it was okay. They also kept their word. It was practically a definition of their strength to be able to keep their word. That period sort of came to an end, and we went into a sort of period of anarchy.
A film nowadays is not just a film, it's an event, isn't it? I mean, there's the marketing that surrounds it, and that the opening night of a film is a bit like election day. I mean, if people don't turn up on that day, you're dead. I can't see that this is a terribly healthy trend.
I think it's very bad. It's just terrible for movies, for new movies, for the creative spirit. It's bad. There's no question about it. That's not to say that it's not good to make some movies that, like we know what we want in a hamburger, or we know what we want with, you know, a fast food. But when we know what we want in movies and we just say, well, we're going to get sequel number 2 and 3 and 4, I think it's too bad, because it takes the fun out of it, really.
Are you popular in the film community?
Oh, yeah. I mean, these are people I've known all my life, and but you know, the film community is not just Hollywood. It's in London and in New York and in Paris and in Rome, and you know, I've spent a tremendous amount of time, you know, in London through the years, and I like people who make movies. You know.
You were an icon of the 60s and of the 70s in the cinema. Missed out on the 80s. Are you now set on being an icon of the 90s as well?
I think I became an icon in the 80s, but if I don't know if I'm an icon. I don't know. One of the great luxuries of being around for a long time is I guess you get your iconship. and you're there. You do that, and you do what you do, and then I don't know. You know your profession, sort of, and if you're smart, you know that you're surrounded by people who know it better. You make a movie, everybody knows their field better than you do, and you go along and you pretend you know something. And I have just a satisfactory time making something serious, as I do of something that's entertaining, like Dick Tracy. Making Reds for me was a very satisfying experience. It's particularly satisfying, I think, when you make a movie like that that seems to become more relevant as the time goes on. I felt that particularly with the other movie that you mentioned, which was Shampoo. It has a greater political resonance as it fades into the past, and the sexual overtones are not so shocking, I guess. But as you what am I talking about?
It's fascinating. Whatever. No, but I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right about Shampoo, because on the surface, Shampoo is about a very randy hairdresser, but it's about politics, sexual politics, and politics as well.
And it's about sexual politics. It's about money. It's about the most affluent little geographical area in the world, Beverly Hills, and it's a very funny movie.
Yeah, it is.
It's a very funny movie. It's a good movie.
Honey!
My God, it's Lester! Get up! Get up!
Becky!
Oh, God, do something, please. Oh, shut the door, honey. Come on.
Oh, sorry.
Either come in or stay out.
Shut the door, honey. What do you think, this is a picnic? Come on.
Just don't let the steam out.
Oh.
Are you going to make more movies in the future? You know, 3 in 10 years is really not enough.
Yeah, I want to make more movies, you know, yeah.
That's a sort of non-committal, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have anything specifically in mind that you would like to do
I'm going to
next?
make a movie about Howard Hughes. I'm also going to make a movie which involves American politics. I'm going to act in a couple of movies, and there's some people that, for one reason or another, want to work with me as an actor, and I'm going to do that if I can. And, you know,
This looks like a feverish burst of work for you. I mean, we're not going to have to wait another 3 or 5 years for the next
probably
Warren
more
Beatty
like a
movie.
feverish interview, but I don't know that the burst of work will be feverish. But when a person makes movies, and then there's a tendency when someone likes to stay out of sight a little bit to think, well, when he's out of sight, he's not doing anything.
A lot of people that I know are openly in the business, movie stars,
yeah,
because of the money, because of the fame, because of the power that go with those two things. You, I imagine, want a lot more than that. You obviously want more than that.
Well, I think as a kid, I was interested in becoming rich, and famous also interested me very much. Rich and famous about did it for me, but there was, you know, I never really, as a kid, accepted that I wanted to be an actor. I was stunned for years when I'd go into Heathrow and see on my passport, actor. I'd think, not me, you know. And then I began to have a tremendous amount of respect for my profession. That was after about 3 or 4 years of doing it. And when I first produced a picture in the 60s, which was Bonnie and Clyde, my life changed, because I saw that if I worked very hard and I had something that I wanted to say, that I could control, to some extent, my own destiny. And I guess that's why I feel such an affection and sympathy for people who are actors. I even feel this for Ronald Reagan, and I don't have, you know, I don't share his politics at all.
I didn't think so.
No, but I can't help having that feeling of.
I suppose it's too much to hope that the rumor that he was going to play Pruneface in Dick Tracy without makeup is true.
I know it is not true, but it's worth another movie. Let's say if he would. Not a bad actor, Reagan. Not a bad actor.
Not a great actor.
Well, no.
From where I sit, you seem to have had pretty good life so far. Would you go along with that?
I think I'm a real lucky person. Yeah.
The only thing that appears to be missing, and I suppose I might as well ask you this, is marriage and children,
yeah.
right? And,
yeah.
I mean, have you got anything against marriage and children?
I have nothing against marriage and children. I would like to be married and have children.
Well, why haven't you been?
Well, you're kind of a seductive, manipulative interviewer, and I'm afraid that you'll get me into subjects that will then be quoted by those columnists in those papers that we talk about, and I'll fall into deep.
I thought it might be an answer as simple as I've never actually met anybody I've really wanted to marry yet. Right. Warren, thank you very much indeed. I wish you the very best with Dick Tracy.
Thank you.
It was a huge success.
Thanks.
It really has been great.
Thank you.
Sooner or later you're gonna be fine. Baby, it's time that you faced it. I always get my man.
Get over to 132 Broad Street. 132 Broad Street.
You
132 Broad Street.
Right, babe, the challenge delights me. The more you resist, babe, the more it
Dick Tracy is struck tonight, and he is struck hard.
No
right in the heart of the
one I kissed, babe, ever fights me again. If you're on my list, it's just a question of when I get a yen, then baby, amen. I'm counting to 10. I'm gonna love you like nothing you've known. I'm gonna love you when you all alone.